Hey there, it's Missy again with the Hip Kit Club, and I'm bringing you another layout using the 2016 April kits. And I'm going to be using these two pictures of me and my mom. The theme this week is Mothers, because Mother's Day is this weekend. And I just love these pictures. They make me smile, and I was very excited to create a layout using these. So I'm going to start out with the Ellie Studio Little Moments paper as my background, and I'm going to use a couple of these gorgeous Project Life cards as layers, as well as some of that really pretty aqua and white polka dotted paper. And I'm going to just stack these pictures on top of one another. This was a layout that I didn't think about it a lot. I'm usually one to plan out and just take forever to create a page. I put so much thought into every little detail that I'm going to do, and for this one I just wanted to kind of wing it. I honestly didn't have that much time to get it done, and so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it and hope that it matches and hope that it works out, and let's just see what happens. I wanted to try something different here, so instead of using gesso, I just grabbed some of my white acrylic paint and used that instead. And it's a totally different texture, and as you can see, it covers a lot quicker than gesso because it's paint, it's thicker, and it's less transparent. It didn't take that much. I'm using a credit card here, and it dries very quickly. And one big difference is the paint is not gritty at all. When it dries, it's very slick and smooth. So I thought, you know, I'm going to use it and see what happens. And I love how it blended out some of the hearts, and now I've got a pure white surface to work with here for my background stuff. Now I'm going to use the No Yoking colorings, and that's from Shimmers. That's in our color kit this month, and I'm just kind of smudging some down here. And it's very different. It goes on completely different with this acrylic paint versus the gesso. It works great, and I love it. I'll definitely do this again. It's just a whole different feel. You can see it's a lot shinier because the surface is a lot slicker with that paint versus gritty with the gesso. And this just shows, in case you don't have gesso, you can buy a little bottle of that white acrylic paint and use that instead. Now it definitely doesn't, you know, it's thicker, and so it's not going to be as see-through right away. So just, you have to kind of experiment with it and see if you like it. All right, so I'm going to come in with some of the Osei Can You See colorings, and then I decided I wanted some pink instead. When I put that over it, I think that's too much yellow and too much green. I need a different color. So I'm just going to cover it back up. I let it dry, and I took the white paint, smudged some on there, and I basically just whited out my mistake. It wasn't really a mistake, I just changed my mind. And so instead of throwing it away, I just sort of used the paint as whiteout and covered it up. And you can still see a little bit through it, but it's going to work out fine. As you can see here, I spray my pink on, and look at the difference in the texture. Usually when you use gesso, you're not going to get that kind of texture. It looks very different. I love how that looks. It's very it's the shape of the plastic, I guess. The way I press down on it, it gives it a whole different look there, and that's just neat to me. I like to experiment. So I've got this dry. I love how this looks, and a lot of this is going to be covered up because it's a background, and I want some of the pink and the yellow, and you can still see some of the teal. I love how that turned out, and like I said, that was just an experiment, and you never know what you're going to get until you just play with it. So this is kind of how I want this to look. This is meant to be kind of messy and just kind of haphazard, I guess you could say. And I wanted to play with some of these Amy Tangerine rub-ons, and I'm still going to build the background here. My background was a lot of fun to do because, like I said, I didn't overthink it. I just jumped in and said, hey, let's use this. Another thing I discovered, since the background has acrylic paint, the rub-ons went on wonderfully. And I did barely even have to use that little stick to rub them on. I just kind of pressed it down with my finger. I'm going to do it here again in a minute with this floral cluster here. I didn't even have to use the stick because the surface is so slick. As soon as I stuck them down, they immediately started to adhere to the background. Gesso, that would be a whole different story. See, look, I just barely used my finger and they stuck down perfectly. Voila! I never thought about that, but hey, I like it. I'm not dogging gesso. Don't get me wrong. I love gesso. Gesso is my best friend. But sometimes I like to just change things up and see what happens. And I was very pleasantly surprised here. Now, I decided to do a lot of stitching. I recently saw a gorgeous, stunning layout that Paige Evans did where she did a lot of stitching in the background. I think it was a Paige Evans layout. If it wasn't a Paige Evans layout, then she shared a layout that someone did with the stitching in the background, and I fell in love with it. So I thought, hey, I'm going to do lots of stitching on the back. So I took some pink and yellow thread and just did a bunch of zigzag stitching in the spots where those colors were. And I love how that turned out. It just gives some extra pizzazz to the background, and it just gives it some texture and some extra color, and I just love how that looks. So I took that gorgeous butterfly paper. I think I'm the last person alive to fussy cut some of those butterflies, so I had to do that finally. And I set them aside. I'm going to use those here momentarily. I'm going to come in with some of that pink fresh washi tape, and the colors just match perfectly. I wanted to use the pinks, the yellows, and the teals. Surprise, surprise, my favorite color scheme. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to add in some tangled thread, and that's the teal color because I've got plenty of yellow and lots of pink going on. So I wanted to bring in more of the aqua teal color scheme here. This washi tape is really fun to use. It's very versatile. It's got some that's just, the text, and then it's got lots of different strips with color, and I think every color is represented here. You've got blues, pinks, yellows, green, gray, orange, and the beautiful thing is you can cut it, just like I did there. If you didn't want any of that specific color, you could just trim around it and use just the saying. And like I said, I was just kind of going for it. I didn't really stop and think a whole lot about where I was putting stuff. I just kind of wanted to go for it, and that's definitely a challenge for me. I wanted to use some of these really cute Pink Fresh Studio acetate words. There's so many of them in the pack this month, and I've only used a couple, so I got a lot of them left over. And so I'm going to use Extra Special Capture here as my title. And I love how, since I've got the pink extra special there and I overlap it with the yellow, it gives it a totally different color. It looks kind of orange. And then the blue capture over the yellow makes the URE look green. I love that. You can basically come up with new colors just by putting these words over other colors. And I overlap them a little bit just to make it a little more interesting. And I'm going to stick down some of these butterflies. And I was very proud of myself for basically getting this layout done in 30 minutes. 30 minutes is basically like unheard of for me. I can easily spend an entire day on one layout. And so I really, really got this done in record time for me. And I was pretty impressed with myself that I actually didn't hate it. Because usually when I'm in a hurry, I get frustrated and wind up not liking what I make. And this one actually, I liked it. I'm just adding more bits and bobs, as Seuss Fish would say, and I've got some more rub-ons going. I'm going to come into this little pack of the rubber charms from Pink Fresh Studio and use a couple of those. And those are so fun. They're so different. I love how scrapbook brands are coming out with different things constantly. That's something I've been doing lately. I don't know. The metal chenille paper clips, for some reason, I can't ever get the paper clip to work where I want it to work. It just never looks right for me. So I just took my Tim Holtz scissors and cut off the clip part, and then I'm left with the top circle part with the design on it, and it almost looks like a brad. So you can just glue it down. I'm going to glue it down just like I would a piece of flair. And so that's another option for those paper clips. If they don't work in clip form, just cut them up and use them as a brad. So one of the last things I'm going to do is come in here with my journaling, and then off camera I did add the date stamp and some black splatters of ink, and that's going to wrap it up. So that's my 30-minute layout. I was very, very proud of myself for getting this done in record time, and I love the photos, I love the colors, I love the stitching. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. Let me know if you have any questions. If you are into the mixed media thing, try the acrylic paint instead of gesso and see how you like it, and let me know how it goes. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again this weekend for National Scrapbooking Day. Thanks for watching.